It's Ash from SuperVideos, back for another video for the Walking Dead universe and The Last of Us in a way. In this video, we're going to talk about whether they are too similar. Now, we're not really talking about them being zombie shows because obviously they're similar in that aspect, but there's a lot of different aspects, specific story elements that are similar between the two. Something that we've definitely noticed more during the spin-offs that we've seen or will see in the future. That is the Dead City spin-off with Negan and Maggie, and also the Daryl Dixon spin-off, and of course the Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live spin-off with Rick and Michonne. So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break these down. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. So of course, what we know is that there's definitely some main story elements that are similar in the world of The Walking Dead and the world of The Last of Us. One of those things is related to this big organization being at the center of the story, which didn't really exist in The Walking Dead, but it is now a big part of the story. We're of course talking about the Civic Republic Military in The Walking Dead and the Fireflies in The Last of Us, which is definitely something that's similar. And we're not going to talk about that in detail. That's just one of the things that we're ignoring because we're giving them the benefit of the doubt. The other thing is The Walking Dead never really focused on building the world and showing us the environments and making the environments be a big part of this story. Something that The Last of Us does all the time. It's what makes The Last of Us The Last of Us. Like, it's something that they're famous for. And we've seen more and more they're doing that in the Walking Dead universe, specifically with the world building that they're doing in the spin-offs. In Dead City, in the Rick and Michonne, The Ones Who Live, based on some things that we know we'll see in that series. And obviously, of course, the Daryl Dixon spinoff, which is in France. And again, this is something that we can really sort of ignore. And the reason for that is because we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, the next part of it is this story dynamic between two characters. One having a father-like role in the story and the other having a daughter or son type role. We know that's a big part of The Last of Us with Joel and Ellie, and in The Walking Dead we've seen that numerously with Negan. It was Negan and Carl, and then Negan and Judith, Negan and Lydia, and of course later in Dead City it's more with Negan and Ginny, a new character, a new young female character, and also Negan and Herschel Jr. So that's also a big part of the similarities that we are beginning to see a lot more of in the Walking Dead universe. And this one again, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll say that's a, not cliche, but that's a consistent story element in post-apocalyptic shows. So let's leave that out as well. But with all of those out of the way, we are still left with some substantial similarities. Most obvious of them all is this. Obviously in part 2 of The Last of Us video game, we were introduced to the Rat King monster, which was basically multiple shamblers who had mutated into one big monster called the Rat King monster. In The Walking Dead Dead City, they did something extremely similar. They had a bunch of walkers mutated together to build what they called the King Rat Walker. As you can see, tons of similarities just when it comes to that. And that's not all. There's another bigger connection or bigger similarity that is going to be coming up in the Daryl Dixon spinoff. Going back to the Joel and Ellie situation, the big part of the Joel and Ellie situation was that Ellie was potentially immune. She was the key to rebuilding civilization in a way, and Joel was hired to take her to where she needed to go in order to make that happen. if you watch the trailer for season 1 of the Daryl Dixon spinoff, we see almost an identical story. We know that Daryl is gonna go to France. He's gonna find a group of nuns who are gonna select Daryl to take a young boy named Lauren to some location because he holds the key to rebuilding civilization. He's the key to saving humanity. So obviously that brings into question, is it the same story? And obviously I think it is. Like, Daryl is literally Joel. Lauren is literally Ellie. So that's definitely some pretty big connections, some pretty big similarities. So even if we ignore some of the first few points I made, you can't ignore the last two specifically. So that's definitely something that has bothered me as a fan. How much these two shows, well, not really shows, but these two stories are riding off of one another. You know what I mean? It's just too much. I get inspirations, but some of it goes beyond just being inspired by the other story. But I'm definitely intrigued to know your thoughts and opinions, so share that in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.